Jim, I'm loving your hair. Yours is longer, mine is shorter.
Yeah, it's getting quite long. It gives me something to do.
Comb it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hair.
Yeah. I'm gonna let it keep growing until I can have enough to donate.
Oh. Well, you look like a rock star.
Yeah. My head will swell. Don't say that.
About to say, I'm jealous.
Last time my hair was that long was 1971.
Wow.
Much easier maintenance without it.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. It looks like we've got another minute or so before we start the meeting. How's everybody?
I'm good. Staying cool.
Outstanding. Same here.
I was just in Savannah last week, but it's definitely hotter here than it was in Savannah.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah.
But I can believe because Savannah's on
And it was pretty hot
the
down
water,
there.
so yeah.
Been on the move, Dr. Jackson. Florida, Savannah.
I know. Well, I had to go. We went down to finish cleaning out my mama's house. And I tell you, driving back, I looked like, y'all remember the Beverly Hillbillies when they rode into Beverly Hills on that truck with all that stuff? You should have seen my car with all this stuff, junk I don't need, but I just couldn't let it go.
Bless your heart.
I had to laugh at myself.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's 5 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the Durham County Board of Health meeting for August 12th, 2021. How's everyone?
Good.
Can everybody hear me?
Sure can.
Very good. Just want to make sure. Second item on the agenda is discussion and approval of adjustments to the agenda. Do we have any discussion or adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, we do have one adjustment, if permissible, under new business, we have one additional budget amendment to be ratified.
Thank you. So that's 5 total.
Yes, sir.
Very good. And any other discussion or adjustments to the agenda?
I was going to make a motion to, if there's not, make a motion to,
Please do.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. We have a budget amendment. I stand corrected. We do have a budget amendment.
Amendment, thank you.
so I was
So
gonna
we're
make
adding
a,
a budget amendment to new business. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the adjustments to the agenda.
motion to approve the changes to the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second, Spence Curtis.
It's been moved and properly seconded. We'll now have a roll call vote, please.
Chairman Ireland,
Yes.
Dr. Jackson. Dr. Jackson,
You're muted, Rosemary.
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. McDougall, Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Dr. Braithwaite, Dr. Orto,
Yes.
Dr. Ray,
Yes.
and Mr. Josh relayed that he will not be here today. He just sent an email.
Thank you.
I'm snacking, but you could come in.
I see Dr. McDougall.
Hello?
That's been working without crashing.
Yes.
Commissioner Alam.
Okay. Show me your issue with.
Lindsay, you need to go on mute, please.
All
Thank you.
right, thank you.
Item 3, review of minutes from prior meeting. Are there any adjustments or changes or corrections that were noticed from our prior meeting minutes? Hearing none, the chair would accept a motion to approve the prior meeting minutes from our previous meeting. Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and approved, excuse me, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from our previous meeting. We'll entertain a roll call vote, please.
Chairman Ireland,
Yes.
Dr. Jackson,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. McDougall,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Dr. Braithwaite, Dr. Orto,
Yes.
Dr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Brown, and Commissioner Alam. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4, public comments. Do we have anyone signed up for public comments?
No, sir.
Thank you. Item 5, staff and program recognitions. Mr. Director, Rod.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This time, I would love to have the opportunity. I thought I saw her, but I wanted to recognize our newest member. We have many, but she she's the new coordinator for the Partnership for Healthy Durham. Her name's Brian Miller. And as mentioned, I saw her earlier, but she may have slipped off. Marissa, if you're on here, we'd love for you to say a few words about Bria in her absence.
Sure. Yeah, Bria joined the health department on June 14th, so it's been a couple of months. She's jumped right in with both feet. She's doing a great job. She's spending a lot of time meeting with community partners, and we working with the committees and learning more about the partnership and how it runs. And she's doing a great job in getting acclimated and is working on designing a process for the community health improvement plan as well. So she's getting adjusted really well and meeting our partners, and is really enjoying the job.
Thank you, Marissa. Please extend the board's welcome to her, if you would, please.
Last but not least, Mr. Chair, just want to recognize the entire staff and contractors. As you all have seen in the news headlines, we're really continuing to battle the Delta variant right now, and our cases are going up, and it's starting to truly feel as if it's deja vu all over again. But the staff has remained resilient. We do have an additional workforce provided through partnerships with the state to help us with vaccinations and also contact tracing. And we have had many staff to go back to help us out with our surveillance efforts. I just definitely want the board to know that we're still in this fight, and we continue to do well, but couldn't be done without our dedicated staff.
Thank you, Rod. And please extend to your wonderful staff our great appreciation for all the tremendous work they're doing for the county.
Absolutely. That's
As
all
well
I have,
as
Mr.
yourself,
Chair.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Item 6, administrative reports, presentation on the on-site wastewater program, notices of violation update. Mr. Eaton, how you doing, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
Outstanding. Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
Absolutely. Don't I know?
All right. So you'll have to forgive me how I need to get this presentation on screen for everyone. It was emailed a link in the agenda. There should be a link to the PowerPoint.
Patrick, I have made you host so you can pull it up on your computer and share
Wonderful.
your computer with them. If
Thank
that's
you.
easier. Yes, sir.
Okay, are you able to see the presentation now?
Not yet, Patrick.
All right, bear with me.
There we go.
All right, we have success. Okay, is presentation visible now? All right, great. So for those that don't know me, I'll start with an introduction. My name is Patrick Eaton. I'm on-site water protection supervisor here in the Environmental Health Division. And the presentation tonight, Director Jenkins had asked, due to some board concern regarding the notices of violation list, to present basically an overview of the program, our responsibilities, and then some of the nuances of the NOV report itself. So I have a presentation here I'm going to breeze through pretty quickly. So I would ask if you have questions, certainly there'll be time at the end. If you would just hold tight to ask questions, I may actually answer them throughout the presentation. And then, of course, I'll stick around for later in the meeting if you have any questions regarding the current list of notices of violation. So basically our presentation this evening, I'm going to do a brief on-site wastewater overview. We'll talk about legal requirements of the health department and property owners, how delegation of authority and enforcement works at a very broad perspective without getting bogged down in the minutia. And then we'll talk briefly about sort of the state of on-site wastewater in Durham County with current and future repair challenges. So I'd like to start any presentation regarding our program with basically what is an on-site wastewater system. It's more commonly known as a septic tank system. It's utilized in areas where municipal sewer is not available. And the system consists of 4 major components, and that's going to be the source of wastewater, which most of the time when we're talking about on-site systems in Durham County, we're talking about a single-family dwelling unit. Second is the septic tank, which is collection and pretreatment of the waste, the drain field, which is the dispersal of the septic tank effluent, and the soil, which is the final treatment and basically disposal mechanism within a wastewater system. And soil is really what does the heavy lifting of both treatment and dispersal. This is a very simple illustration of a very basic wastewater system. We have a source, in this case, a house, septic tank distribution within the drain field, which historically has just been a trench with aggregate, which has been gravel historically, and a distribution pipe, and then the soil for treatment and returns that wastewater after it's been treated into the hydrogeologic cycle. Soil is the most critical component within a wastewater system. The treatment and disposal is achieved through mechanical filtration of pathogens and organic matter, aerobic digestion, nutrient transformation, absorption, binding into the soil, and then it returns the treated water to the groundwater table. Soil hydraulic loading rate, which is something that is assigned by the environmental health specialist, is going to determine the size of the drain field within the soil, and that's based on soil characteristics and site characteristics. Those are regulated within the rule set. Legal requirements, what does the law require of the Durham County Department of Health and also of individuals within our community? It requires that any person owning or controlling a residence, place of business, place of public assembly be provided with an approved wastewater system. Now, as a proportion of population, the largest amount of that approved wastewater system in Durham County is going to be the City of Durham sewer system, just based on total number of residents. However, within the areas outside the city limits and even some within, municipal sewer is not available, so the approved wastewater system would be a septic system. Local health departments are required to issue permits for properties that meet the requirements of the rules that govern on-site wastewater systems in North Carolina. The administrative code, its rule number is 1900 is what it's commonly referred to. I have a citation on the screen, but these rules detail the requirements of permitting, operation, and enforcement, and that goes from everything from site and soil characteristics to system design standards, components, installation methods, and then continued operation and maintenance. The permitting process starts with a site and soil evaluation, where we determine if a property is suitable or provisionally suitable for a wastewater system. That is then followed by system design on the site, and that may be accomplished through any of a number of means. Most commonly for a single family dwelling, the design is going to be done by the environmental health specialist assigned to the permit or the application. In other instances, advanced systems or demanding system sites or large systems may require professional engineer design. There are also legal mechanisms whereby a licensed soil scientist may submit system designs that can be approved by the local health department. Once the system's permitted, installation occurs, the EHS will inspect systems. This is actually me out checking trench level and product placement for a conventional drain field. And you can see the product within the trench and the soil mounted up there. It includes looking at tanks, collection, pumps if required, pipe distribution networks, And then for existing systems, there are requirements for operation and monitoring. Monitoring for the local health department is required for any system that utilizes a pump, advanced pre-treatment, or is larger than 3,000 gallons per day in design flow, which is a pretty rare thing in Durham County, but we do have a few. We're also tasked with complaint investigations for system failures or sewage discharges. This is an example of a site where a clean out has been broken and you can clearly see the raw sewage discharge from the road. Where does our authority come from to enforce the rules? It is granted by the Secretary of Department of Health and Human Services. It's delegated to environmental health specialists at the local level once they have the adequate training and have been tested both in field and with book learning to demonstrate competence. When it comes to failures, rule violations, any sort of violation of general statute as it relates to wastewater systems, legal remedies are pursued by local county attorney's offices via civil actions, whether that be injunctive relief, that is a court order to compel someone to do something. In most cases, that's going to be fix their system or vacate the property. Another option is administrative penalties, and that is assessing fines. The rule that enables us to classify a malfunction is Rule 1961, and a definition of a malfunction is basically three things. It is a discharge of sewage or effluent to the ground surface. That one's pretty easy for everyone to see. Another definition of malfunction is a backup of sewage into the facility, the plumbing, or the freeboard of the septic tank. That is, the tank itself is not draining properly, or the plumbing within the facility is not draining properly. That is also classified as a malfunction. And another one that we typically don't deal with in the Piedmont too often, this is more of a coastal plain phenomenon, it is free liquid surface within 3 inches of the ground surface. And that is that the drain field is saturated to a point where basically you can't even walk across it, but it's not actually discharging effluent. So that one's not so much of an issue for us. The vast majority of our complaints and our notices of violation are going to be for a discharge of sewage or effluent to the ground surface. This is an example of a pretty extensive drain field failure. You can see the ponding effluent over the ground surface where the nitrification trenches have lost their ability to transmit wastewater, and it's resulted in failure. So our notices of violation, whenever we as environmental health specialists see an observed malfunction, we must issue a notice of violation. The general statute explicitly states that an owner has to be given a minimum of 30 days to correct the malfunction, and that after 30 days, legal remedies may be pursued. One misconception among public and even among local health department officials, environmental health specialists are not law enforcement officers. Therefore, we do not have citation authority. I cannot write you a ticket and compel you into court for a failing wastewater system. It's civil actions, which of course Attorney Wardell could speak to with greater authority. Just to give the board an idea of what we're looking at, specific to Durham County, is one thing to note is that all on-site wastewater systems eventually fail. They're like any other mechanical device. They're not going to last forever. Our number crunching has shown that the average system lifespan in Durham County is 30 years, just shy of 31, which is pretty good because depending on system type, the North Carolina state average is only 15 to 20 years, depending on system type. So we're holding our own pretty well. This is a map we did some years ago that shows the distribution of septic systems that we know about that are older than 30 years old. Each little green dot represents a parcel with a wastewater system that's older than 30 years old. The yellow blob you see are the City of Durham municipal limits. So it kind of gives you an idea of the distribution of those older systems. What are the repair options when we run into a malfunction and we issue an NOV? Connect to municipal sewer if it's available, partial repair of a drain field or complete drain field replacement if the site permits, a discharge system from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. Those are exceptionally difficult to obtain and are typically not an option for most sites. Permanent pump and haul, that is, the drain field is abandoned, and as the septic tank fills up, it sets off an alarm, and then the property owner has a contract with a septic hauler to come empty the tank at such interval to keep it from discharging the ground surface. That can be helpful for temporary use, and it can be useful in small commercial applications. However, just from a financial standpoint, is typically not a viable option for a residential situation. Even though it is allowed by the rules, typically the sheer amount of financial burden is more than can be brought to bear for just a single family dwelling. The ultimate and least palatable of all options is vacate the premises and abandon the septic system. Because again, going back to that general statute we saw earlier, you must have an approved wastewater system. The options for these repairs can range anywhere from $500 to over $35,000, depending on the size, complexity, and type of the wastewater system or the repair. So it really encompasses a very large spectrum. What are some of the reasons we may deny a repair permit? If it's in unsuitable soils that we do not, within the rule set or even our best professional judgment, feel there is any hope that it will work. High water table can be an issue. We obviously don't want to discharge untreated sewage prematurely into a groundwater table that's near the surface. One of the biggest issues we run into is limited or no available space for repair for small parcels. Unsuitable landscape position, that is areas that may be prone to flooding or erosion. Complex topography where we have uneven landforms that installing a system is exceptionally difficult, or even if we have rock outcroppings, things of that nature that prevent a system from going in the ground. And any one of these could be on its own enough to deny a repair permit. For those that aren't familiar with the soils of Durham County, we have basically two main physiologic regions when it comes to soil geomorphology, and that's going to be the Carolina Slate Belt in the north, and then the Triassic Basin in the south and the east. And you can see the maps here, we've drawn the green areas represent soils that fall within the slate belt. Gray area represents soils that fall within the Triassic Basin. And then again, I've got an overlay of the city of Durham limits on the map on the right. The soils within the Triassic Basin are typically unsuitable for conventional systems due to expansive clay mineralogy and poor hydraulic conductivity. There are some sites that will pass. Then there are also options with pre-treatment and advanced systems that we can work with on Triassic Basin sites. Generally speaking, the soils within the slate belt are of a little less concern. Typically, they're better drained and they do not exhibit the expansive clay mineralogy that's unsuitable. This gives you sort of an idea of sewer access for parcels that are on septic. This data is a little bit old. It was done a few years ago, but it's still representative for septic systems that are within the city. About 1,400 have access within 60 feet of a city sewer main, and then within the county, it's about 900. I briefly mentioned the cost associated with various repairs. This kind of breaks that down a little bit of some of those challenges a homeowner might face. Connection to municipal sewer around $7,500 and up, depending on your road frontage and whether or not you need a lift pump. System replacement, $5K to $35,000. Discharge systems from the state, they're going to be $35,000 plus. And then permanent pump and haul is $300 to $350 every time the truck pulls up in the driveway. So in summary, the incidence of system failure is going to increase for Durham County as our systems continue to age. We have some pretty large neighborhoods on wastewater systems that are in the 30 to 40-year-old range. Fortunately, most of those are in the Slate Belt, not the Triassic Basin. So it's a little bit more hopeful for dealing with repairs. One of the issues we run into with enforcement is that the economic burden for a septic repair is insurmountable for the property owner. And then the enforcement options can be complicated from a legal aspect. And, you know, Attorney Wardell, I know, has mentioned that in previous meetings, some of the nuances involved there. So that's basically just a brief introduction to septic systems, the general state of wastewater systems in Durham County, and how we go about the NOV process.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yes, sir.
Any questions from any board members?
Yeah, the one question we had from the last meeting was the violations that were open for a number of years. And I think that was, Chris said that was due to they had to do reports on those and the owners weren't doing it. But as far as violations, you guys were on it pretty fast as far as sewage going on the ground.
Yes, sir. We have one that is aged that has a discharge currently. We have reissued another notice on that one. At the direction of Attorney Wardell, we have reworded part of the notice violation to emphasize the statutes authorizing a fine of up to $50 per day. And even within just the last few weeks, we have seen some folks, you know, respond very quickly to that previously we'd not seen, so that was a great suggestion. But as far as those oldest ones, yes, sir, there is one that is an active discharge. The other two that are immediately next to that are systems that are technical violations. They're not a discharge of effluent. For those systems that have either a low pressure pipe distribution, advanced pretreatment, or drip irrigation distribution, those do require an operation and maintenance contract from a certified operator, and they are required to submit reports to the local health department. Depending on the system type, there's a different schedule for each one. But for those two, those are low pressure pipe systems, and they just need to contract with a certified operator to be in compliance, but they're not an actual system failure. Since the August NOV list was published, we've had a lot of movement on those. Several have become compliant. We've issued several more. One was compliant just today. So, you know, there will be a lot of updates for the August report in the next meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, I'd also like to add, with regard to enforcement, we routinely meet to discuss the NOV list when it looks like it's getting to be a little bit long, and we come up with a variety of solutions. One of the things that was mentioned by Patrick is that, you know, we've got to take certain matters before the court because they can only be enforced civilly. And as you know, there's been a moratorium on removing people from their residences for the past year and a half or so. And that is the ultimate, you know, hammer that we have to deal with that, with those violations. So when there's a situation where we have to go before a judge and ask for injunctive relief that would potentially put someone out of their home, when there's a moratorium on removing people from their homes, you're not going to get much action in the court in that regard. So we haven't had very many legal filings with regard to the NOV list over the last year and a half or so. And clearly, I mean, you understand why. And the ones that I believe, once we looked at the list that were on there for some period of time, have been operator a failure to have an operator for an approved system and so forth and so on. So the list, last I looked at it, is in really good shape. I will say that Patrick Eaton and Matthew Yearout and his crew, of course, Chris, they do a great job of dealing with a very, very difficult issue in Durham. And anytime that they issue an NOV and they can't get compliance and they've tried, they send it over to my office. And so we've got a good system set up for addressing this problem. And of course, for many, many years now, we've been discussing trying to get some sort of financing mechanism in place for replacing some of these failing systems, or at least providing some financial assistance in replacing some of these systems that we know are going to fail, and also for some that are failing now. So I think there's a good mechanism in place. If we could go ahead and get our folks at the top to commit some of that FEMA money, or some of that extra money floating around these days to, fund at least some financing mechanism to help these folks who are in distress. I think that would go a long way to sort of being proactive in dealing with this particular issue.
And to Attorney Wardell's last point, just know that Interim Manager Claudia Hager for Durham County has reached out to Durham Public Health about that very topic. Just wanted to know what else can be done. And, Chris had already presented me with a very elaborate plan when I first got here. We've already passed that on to county management for further consideration when it comes to the ARPA funding and everything. So just wanted to let the board know that.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Any more questions? Excellent work, Patrick, Chris, Brian, and Matthew. Keep it up. Stay vigilant. We appreciate you.
I agree. And that was a very good presentation, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
And I'll stay online in case the board has any questions about the current list.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to that, item 7, respond to Board of Health questions regarding, first, the public health vacancy report. Any questions from the board? Hearing none. Public health NOV report. We might have just asked and answered those. Hearing none. Health director's report. All righty, that's it for item 7. Moving on to item 8, committee reports. Don't believe we have any committee reports, do we?
No, sir.
I didn't think so. Very good. Item 9, old business. Mandated COVID vaccination discussion for employees. Mr. Jenkins, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the board, again, I say good evening to you. I wanted to come to you with a very serious topic. I want to start off by saying the safety of our employees is paramount. We have been at this vaccination effort for some 9 months, dating back to December 22nd of 2020. And we have been going nonstop. However, we do know that the Delta variant has caused alarm. And for the most part, we are feeling it. I know our surveillance staff are led by Deputy Public Health Director Liz Stevens, has been really seeing triple-digit cases now. And Liz and I are copied on just about every employee for the entire county, every employee infection. And we're starting to see a large number of infections coming to the surface. So we are concerned about our own employees. With that being said, we know that we need a strong, vibrant, and healthy workforce in order to take care of our residents. So when Delta really started really rearing its ugly head. The first health department to mandate it was Mecklenburg County. It was an easy decision for them, and that was followed by Halifax County. And I do believe Wake, Guilford, and a number of other counties have been reviewing it. And that was really in tow with the leadership from the North Carolina Healthcare Association, in which all the major hospital systems, of course, including Duke and UNC Healthcare, have already mandated that employees either get vaccinated by showing proof or be subjected to further testing. So upon this knowledge, I did reach out to the chair and vice chair and just really wanted to seek some direction from them, to which three directives came to me directly from the chair. He wanted me to seek legal counsel, which I did reach out to our illustrious attorney, Wardell. I also sought counsel from our human resources director, Kathy Everett Perry. Both of them told me that it is within our purview to make that happen. The second directive I received was to engage the staff to really get a feel for what's going on, how they feel about it. And that was done that very same week, Mr. Chair, in the form of a town hall with the health director chat, which was done on the fourth Wednesday of last month. And then, of course, the third thing was to make this an agenda item to present to you all. I think it's really a no-brainer. I really do feel as if the majority of our workforce, ladies and gentlemen, has been vaccinated. However, I do know that I've been contacted by several employees who expressed some concern, but nothing rising to the level of outrage or, whatever have you. They've been very compliant. To the board, I also want you all to know that the county's COVID-19 task force has resoundingly sent our thought and our recommendation to county leadership, executive leadership, and we are in favor of all county employees being vaccinated. But of course, that's their decision. But for the here and now, Board of Health, it is my strong recommendation that our workforce be vaccinated. It is my recommendation that if they have some medical or religious exemption, that they be subjected to testing on a weekly basis. And I do believe that a runway time of having this done by October 8th is sufficient. That is my commentary, Mr. Chair. I'd love to hear the thoughts of the board.
Any board members have any comments?
Yeah, I absolutely agree that the vaccine should be mandated for staff. And Rod, Lincoln has done that already. And actually Lincoln had been doing very well. They have over 90% already vaccinated even before the mandate. But yeah, I think it's important for the safety of our staff and for the community that they be fully vaccinated as they go around touting and giving vaccines. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
I
will also add that right now the only department that has mandated vaccinations, of course, is the Sheriff's Department. And we have been a great partner with Durham County Sheriff's Department under the leadership of Sheriff Burkhead in ensuring that the majority of his staff was vaccinated in the early days when it was extremely crowded. And it also doesn't hurt now that there is an incentive for all residents to get vaccinated by August 31st, in which, we've been fervently and frenetically giving away $100 gift cards to first dose vaccinations and $25 gift cards to those people who've transported. It has been keeping us extremely busy.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? I support your recommendation wholeheartedly, Mr. Jenkins.
And this
I
is,
also wonder if there is if it would be helpful coming from the board, a letter of recommendation about all county employees being vaccinated, or maybe even a resolution to such? Do you
I do
think that
believe-
would be helpful, directed to the county manager and leadership, county leadership?
I do believe, Mr. Chair, that would be extremely helpful. You know, of course, ultimately it's their decision. However, I do know that they are looking for the Board of Health's input to determine what the path forward. I do believe Dr. Orto had some additional commentary.
Dr. Orto?
Yep, just trying to unmute. Yeah, I just wanted to support Dr. Jackson and everyone else that I absolutely believe they need to be vaccinated. All the employees at the health department need to be vaccinated for their safety, for the safety of the public. So I just wanted to throw my hat in the ring and say, yes, it's got to be done.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I also think, and this might be a moot point, but I also think, and some organizations have done this with their boards, that we also, all of us, be vaccinated. And like I said, I'm hoping it's a moot point that we're all vaccinated anyway, but we really should consider that, I think, as the Board of Health.
Absolutely. The chair would be willing to entertain a motion with regard to moving forward on this.
I'd like to make two motions. The first one, that the Public Health Department require vaccinations as described in our discussion here. And the second one is that all Durham County employees get the vaccination.
All right, so you'll need to just take them one at a time.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And then this.
Very good. The first motion on the floor is to require mandatory vaccination for all Durham County Department of Public Health staff.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Chairman Ireland,
Yes.
Dr. Jackson,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. McDougall,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Dr. Brightway,
Yes.
Dr. Orto,
Yes.
Dr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Brown, and Commissioner Alam. Thank you.
Thank you. The next motion on the floor is the requirement of mandatory vaccination for all Durham County employees. Now, would that be in the form of a recommendation or because I'm not sure that the Board of Health can require all county employees to be vaccinated. So can somebody, Brian, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think that an appropriate motion would be to provide either a resolution or a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners that all Durham County employees be vaccinated as a condition of employment.
Okay. So would we accept that as like a substitute motion?
I would feel more comfortable if he just reworded it himself.
Reworded it, very good.
I'd like to move that we make a recommendation to Durham County Commissioners that all Durham County employees get the vaccination.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that a recommendation come from the Durham County Board of Health to Durham County leadership that all county employees be required to receive that mandatory vaccination for COVID.
Chairman Ireland,
Yes.
Dr. Jackson,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. McDougall,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Dr. Brightway,
Yes.
Dr. Orto,
Yes.
Dr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Brown, and Commissioner Alam. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to express my gratitude to the Board of Health. I think this is the right thing to do given our current circumstances. Of course, we know that vaccinations is the only way that we're going to get out of this pandemic. So again, I am grateful. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Jenkins, if I could just make one quick suggestion. You
Yes,
probably
sir.
are already thinking about this, but depending on which vaccines, if all of them you're going to offer to employees, there will be some type of time limits to sort of back into getting first doses of Moderna versus Pfizer, and then having to get the J&J vaccine. So likely need to lay out some type of timeline for when employees are required to start which vaccine for the delta of employees that haven't gotten it yet.
More than happy to do it, Dr. Ray. Thank you so much for the suggestion.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
All right. And my only other comment is, or question, is whether or not we want to mandate vaccines for the board, particularly when we're able to meet in person again. Right, to require that we all are vaccinated as a Board of Health when we meet in person.
I think that's good.
Yeah, don't have a problem.
Okay.
Any other board members? Is that, do we need to vote on that?
No, I don't think you need to vote on it. I think that's something amongst the board that would be in the form of encouraging all the board members to be vaccinated, because there's no enforcement mechanism for that.
Right.
It's more of a policy decision. So I think if all the board members are in agreement, that you can just issue a policy statement saying that, we're all vaccinated to, support the efforts of all our employees, so forth and so on.
Very good. Is the board in agreement?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Outstanding. And I'm just gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say that I'm sure that all of us have already been vaccinated.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
You're here.
Very good.
Yep.
Anything else? All righty. Board of Health meeting, the schedule discussion. I thought about this with regard to all that's going on currently and the numbers going up. Do we want to entertain this and go back to a regular meeting schedule to include in-person meetings? Or do we need to maintain the status quo for the time being and allow for further data and information to come to us with regard as to how the community is being negatively impacted by the variant?
Yeah. I think we need to continue as we are, as we get more information. I think probably at least through the end of the year, we're talking 3 more every other month meetings.
Yeah.
Because like Mr. Jenkins already said, and I think we know that the staff is still pulled in every which way with the soaring numbers again.
So is the board in agreement on that we maintain the status quo for now?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
One issue, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
In terms of continuing the virtual meetings, I believe we are still under, I know we have a new order from Durham County with regard to the mask mandates and COVID-19 protocols. The statute that's in place that allows us to have remote meetings during a state of emergency is only going to be good during the state of emergency. And so if the state of emergency is lifted, then we'll have to revisit this this discussion to see if we can in fact have this format, or whether or not it will have to be a little bit different. I believe that we can still have remote meetings, it would just be a little bit different and actually a little less onerous if there's no state of emergency. So I think it's fine for right now, but if there is some change, I will advise the chair and the director, and then we can move on from there.
Thank you, sir. So advised. Appreciate you.
You got to love a lawyer.
Yes, you do.
Glad you're
The
here.
next item is agenda items for August 2021 meeting. Anything board members would like to see on the agenda for the August meeting? I mean, excuse me,
The
the October meeting. It says August on the agenda. I'm sorry, and I'm just reading. The October 2021 meeting.
I think I might want to, kids would have been in school about a month or so, 6 weeks, just a little mini update from exactly what's happening with COVID in the school system with the nurses.
Very good. Is that okay, Mr. Jenkins?
Absolutely, more than happy to do it. And I will also add, Mr. Chair, that the community needs health assessment update needs to be provided to the Board of Health. And we were looking forward to providing that. So I do believe that we should be able to take care of both in the same meeting.
Very good, sir. Very good. Is there a need for us to get any kind of budgetary updates?
We'd be more than happy to get that for you. Of course, by the time we meet again, we should have a biennial budget approved by the General Assembly. And that General Assembly budget has a lot of ARPA funds tied to it. So we'd be happy to give you an update on those initiatives for public health.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Anything else?
Just want you to know, I think we skipped over the budget amendment and the ratifications.
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Go back to the budget ratifications. There are 4 budget ratifications and 1 budget amendment that the board needs to address.
I will start off, Mr. Chair, with the budget amendment. We're asking the board to recognize $903,807 from the United States Department of Health and Human Services Office of Minority Health. This is the Bull City Strong initiative that we have been awarded, and we will receive $903,807 in the first year and $1,096,193 in year 2. I'd also like to add that we're off to a great start in terms of that collaboration under the leadership of Lindsay Bickers-Bach and many, many others. And the funds initially will be used to create 3 full-time equivalent positions, provisional grant-funded positions for public health.
Thank you, sir. Do I hear a motion to approve the budgetary amendment just discussed and described by our director?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the aforementioned budgetary amendment. Roll call vote, please.
Chairman Ireland,
Yes.
Dr. Jackson,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. McDougall,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Dr. Braithwaite,
Yes.
Dr. Orto,
Yes.
Dr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Brown, and Commissioner Alam. Thank you.
Thank you. Next are the 4 budget ratifications. We'll take each at one at a time. Mr. Director?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first one was to recognize $3,311,290 from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Public Health Epidemiology, CD branch, for the purpose of preparing for, and responding to coronavirus by supporting testing, case investigation, contact tracing, surveillance, containment, and mitigation. These are just additional funds that the state is providing for us to continue to keep fighting corona. The second is $75,000 from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Public Health, Women and Children's Health Section Immunization Branch. And this $75,000 is really awarding us or rewarding us for the work that we've been doing all along. That is for the purpose of helping us to continue to distribute vaccines to our trusted partners. We are delighted to know that we will be paid for doing what we've been doing since January. The next one is no funds attached to it, but as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, we have been feverishly giving away gift card incentive payments, if you will, for first dose shots and for transportation. There was an agreement addenda that came through that required us to get approval. And this is to confirm that Public Health did receive vaccine gift card incentives from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services for the purposes of promoting vaccines. And finally, board, we ask that you recognize $733,355 from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Public Health, Women and Children's Health Section Immunization Branch. And once again, these funds are used for continued supporting activities around and associated with COVID-19 mass vaccination planning and implementation. Mr. Chair, that concludes the budget ratifications.
Thank you. Brian, a question. Can we vote on these as a group or do we vote individually on the ratifications?
You can vote as a group.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the aforementioned budget ratifications by the director.
So moved.
Second.
Excuse me.
Second.
Second, thank you. Been moved and properly seconded to approve the aforementioned budget ratifications. Roll call vote, please.
Chairman Ireland,
Yes.
Dr. Jackson,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. McDougall,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Dr. Braithwaite,
Yes.
Dr. Orto,
Yes.
Dr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Brown, and Commissioner Alam. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mr.
board.
Chair, Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you,
if I
Mr.
may,
Chairman.
Mr.
Go
Chair,
ahead,
if I
sir.
may, one last thing I forgot to mention. I was reminded by our finance administrator, Will Sutton, that we have to present fiscal year 21's budget to you. And we would like to do that at the next board meeting as well.
Very good, sir. Thank you. Number 11 on the agenda, informal discussion.
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll move on to item 12. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll move for adjournment.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn this August 12th, 2021 Board of Health meeting. Roll call vote.
Chairman Ireland,
Yes.
Dr. Jackson,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. McDougall,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Dr. Braithwaite,
Yes.
Dr. Orto,
Yes.
Dr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Brown, and Commissioner Alam. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Excellent meeting. Appreciate everything that you do for the county and its citizens. Mr. Jenkins,
Yes, sir.
fantastic job, sir.
Thank you
Keep it
very
up.
much,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Amen.
Keep it
Keep
up.
up the good work.
Thank you all for
Outstanding.
being the best board on this side of heaven. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Everybody have a good evening.
Y'all stay
Yeah,
safe.
stay
Good rest of the
cool.
week.
Stay
Take
safe.
care.
Jim, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
What's with the John Lennon look?
Hey, and I'm trying.
I said, I looked on there, I said, that's John Lennon come back. You looking good, man. Looking young, looking good.
Yeah, trying. I'm gonna grow it until I can cut it and donate it.
Oh my God. All right,
I'm
well, good to
trying. We'll
see
see
you.
if it happens.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.